A couple of weeks ago, I put out my top 5 games that I've ever covered. I ended with number 2 being Gonzaga's Hail Mary, Caleb Williams completing that pass, them knocking off DeMatha in the WCAC championship game. But I put number 1, Sidwell knocking off Wilson in the DCS AA championship game. They did it twice. They hit 2 buzzer beaters. It was David versus Goliath. That's my number 1.
As a player, I'm going to go way back to 1993. Number 1, DeMatha versus number 2, Gonzaga. And it was Gonzaga won. We won the game, and it was the first time we beat DeMatha in 20 years. So wow. That was pretty special. I went on after Gonzaga, played at Catholic U, and my freshman year, we played Randolph-Macon to a 50-50 tie, which is still in the record books as the highest tie in NCAA history. Because there was no overtime that year. So, so the record will never get broken because there's overtime now. As a coach, the 2012 Friendship versus Bergen Catholic overtime game at Anacostia. That was pretty special. Bergen Catholic came down here, and at the time they were nationally ranked, and we had a few guys on that team that ended up going to the league, and it was just a shootout. I wasn't the head coach. I was the offensive coordinator, so gotta talk to Coach Raheem about those 48 points.
My biggest takeaway for that, Coach, is that you attended Gonzaga. All of these times, all of the interviews that we've sat down together, I never knew that you were a Gonzaga alum.
Yep. Class of 95, man. I still call him Coach Rader, but Joe Rader, as the AD, has an outstanding thing going over there. We actually opened up the fall season with Gonzaga, so it's going to be pretty special to go back there and coach there.
Kind of keeping, obviously, maybe on the Gonzaga train.
What a big surprise, Darrell. Big surprise.
What a surprise. I'm going Gonzaga St. John's football. 2014, November of 2014. Obviously, we know the rivalry between Gonzaga and St. John's on the gridiron, but the reason I chose that game is because of the implications there were. The previous week, as some of you may remember, one of my classmates at Gonzaga, Dominic Petty, passed away in a car accident. The morning of the St. John's game, there was a huge funeral service at the Basilica at Catholic University. Over 6,000 people were there in attendance, standing room only. And I think there was a lot of talk about whether or not Gonzaga should play that night because of the emotional toll, because of the circumstances. But they went out and I think they were down for a little bit in the first half. They came back and won a game where they had to really, really grind it out against the Cadets defense. If I remember correctly, the score was 17-14, the final. It was at Montgomery Blair in Montgomery County. And one of the funny or kind of miraculous, if you want to say that, things that happened during that game was Dominic wore the number 11. And he was a hockey player, an outstanding hockey player at Gonzaga, wore the number 11. And there was a time during the game where if I'm remembering it correctly, I know the clock was stopped at 11 seconds for a certain amount of time. Right. But I think when the clock was stopped at 11, the ball was also at the 11-yard line. So just, everything just kind of came full circle. And that was, there were so many implications and so much emotion and weight behind that game. And that's the one that immediately sticks out to me.
I'm really beginning to feel like I attended Gonzaga myself here. Clark, is your most memorable moment a Gonzaga game as well?
No, it's not. I'm going to tell you this. I have a couple as well. When you're a new organization like the DCSAA was, and you're really searching for some validity as to a real purpose or when you have arrived, I go back to 2016 when Friendship Collegiate came into St. John's in basketball and beat the Cadets. I think the Cadets had just won the WCAC. I remember Alani Moore was on that team, and they beat St. John's 77-70, and that sort of put a stamp on our validity as why there was a need to have a state athletic association, and that the parochial schools weren't just going to walk away and win everything every time. You look at in 2015 as well, WIS in soccer beat St. Albans.
Wow.
Shocked them. St. Albans was like one of the top schools. That same afternoon, Wilson girls beat St. John's to claim their first state title. So for me, those were some moments when you really began to have a sense of buy-in for a state association and a district-wide reason for playing. But I am just like you. There is nothing that tops that Sidwell beating Wilson. It was Malish, right? Dean? Was it Dean Malish?
Mavlish, something. I said Mavlish. I don't know if I was saying it right, but yeah.
He was Mazalicious that day.
Clark, I just wanted to say, funny you bring up Alani Moore. Alani and I were AAU basketball teammates for a couple of years. And then Alani went to, like you said, Friendship, and then he went to Temple, played basketball at Temple.
Shortly after that story that Darrell said, they took the ball away from him and told him that he could never play again, despite how tall he was. Coach, we'll keep it right here with you. Obviously, you have multiple DCSAA championships, so you have phenomenal players on your team. But if you could take one that you played with, that you coached against, or that you've seen playing, one student athlete from another team that you would love to have the opportunity to coach, who would it be?
Everything starts with the quarterback position, and probably Caleb Williams has been one of the highest rated guys we've had in this area in a very long time. I think he's the first number one quarterback we've had since Tim Strachan. From this area.
Darrell, if you had an imaginary team and somebody let you be the coach of it for some reason, who would be one guy you'd want on your team?
Wow, that's tough. I think I'm going to go with Chris Jenkins. I'm going Chris Jenkins.
I guess we both picked Gonzaga.
Yeah, when Gonzaga played Patterson High School at Coolidge a few years ago. I think that was 2013, Chris's senior year. Coolidge was packed. You couldn't get in the door at a certain point. And Gonzaga was down, I believe. They attempted a game winner. They missed. The ball was tapped out. And Chris, just like the national championship game, took the ball, 1-2 step, cashed it, game winner. And that's just what he made his career on. And I think aside from being an incredible player, he was an incredible leader for Coach Turner as well. And I think to have not only the physical and athletic aspect, but also the mental and leadership qualities that he possessed, he would have been a player that I would have liked to have had to coach if I were in that position.
If I had a team that I could coach, I would sit Coach Scribner down, and I would have loved to have been the coach for Malou and Carly and AZ. I would have been the WCAC coach with that crew. I'm going to tell you though, if I could pick one player that I have really just enjoyed watching and believe that every accolade that has come her way is deserved, it would have to be AZ Fudd. She's just a phenomenal athlete. Basketball is a sport that I really love and I love to watch. And her just instinct for the game is phenomenal.
And you know what? Now that I'm aware that St. John's is in the DCSAA, my student athletes, I'm going AZ Fudd, I'm going Rakim Jarrett, and before I had this knowledge in my head, I was considering Mr. Walter Rouse, Clark Ray, like you said. Walter Rouse is a phenomenal student athlete. I have a son now. If my son one day ever grows up to be similar to this giant of a man whose heart and brain is as big as his size is, then I would want for my son to be like Walter Rouse. He's a future doctor out there. Forget
Stanford.
Phenomenal family, 2 sports star, and beyond that, if not Walter Rouse, how about Ruquan Brown? Young man who's doing good by the community, and he's likely a future president out there as well.
I think you guys too. I think you have to watch. One thing you missed when we missed this year is I was really looking forward to seeing the growth and development of Darren Buchanan. from Wilson. I think that young man has got great potential and is going to be one that we'll be talking about down the road as being a great in the District of Columbia.
And he probably could have been a special quarterback if he had chosen football as well. Because I was trying to get him to come over and play football, but he chose the basketball route and went up to Wilson. So
Ricardo report, bruh.